No time to sit this one out. It's time to get on my feet. Rise up and move to the rhythm of my pounding heartbeat. Passions are fired up. I will not fade away. Thunder driving through me. So much to do and say. Wake up, shake up. Step up, step out.
Welcome. I'm Mary Yule, and this is MPA Today, where we explore what's moving us forward in the Monadnock region to become a more sustainable, inclusive, and people-powered community. Today, I'm talking with Heather Stockwell of Rights and Democracy, or better known as RAD, about the origins of MPA and its affiliation with RAD. Welcome. How are you, Heather?
Thanks for having me today. I'm great, and I'm so pleased to be here to tell you about the origins of how this all started over a year and a half ago, I think now.
Great,
Yeah.
great. So I just wanted to let the people, the home viewers, know that there's a lot of information, and so we might be glancing at our sheets of paper, and I didn't want them to feel like we weren't paying attention or we didn't know what we were talking about, but there's a lot of stuff, so we might be looking down on these pieces of paper as we talk today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's always good to kind of go back and look at what we've done in the past year, which is why I wanted to sort of just reconsider all the things that we've accomplished in the last year. Sometimes a year goes by and we haven't really taken stock in what we've actually done, and it doesn't really feel like much until you see it written down on paper, and then you go, oh, a little observation from a different point of view can help with that.
Yeah. So I'm saying if you're even an MPA person, I think this might be an interesting show for you as well. You might think you know everything, but maybe you don't. And if you're new to MPA or you don't know what the Monadnock Progressive Alliance is, this is the show for you to learn not only how we got started, but what we've done since the very beginning. So let's go back to that very, very beginning, Heather, because I think you were there almost from the very start. So how did it all get started?
Well, it really started after the election, but I want to go a little back before the election because that's when I personally got involved with Rights and Democracy. Was during the election and the Bernie Sanders campaign. I got very involved with that campaign. I really loved the topics that were coming up and the conversations that were being highlighted and really coming to the surface. And now,
like what? I mean, let's explore that a little. You say the topics that were coming up. So what really attracted you to that Bernie campaign?
I think. Well, I think a lot of people can relate to the campaign finance reform piece, the corruption that's currently in our political system and that has control of our political system. But also things like healthcare. The ACA has been great, but it really brought up that we need to do more. We need to make sure that every American has healthcare, and I thought that was an important discussion. And the income inequality that exists today, which affects so many other topics from wages, housing, transportation, and even the opioid crisis that we are currently in. I see that income inequality piece affects so much.
Yeah, so it really spreads over into all these issues.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I had gotten involved in that. I started a Facebook group for organizing and had about 500 of my friends there. And then after Bernie didn't have the nomination, I thought, oh, what do I do with this group? I don't want to just, there's all these people that have something in common, and it didn't make sense to just delete the group on Facebook because we were all there with a similar passion.
And so you're kind of looking for a home for that Facebook group.
Yeah,
that Facebook group, and looking for maybe some energy.
So I changed the name and took Bernie Sanders out of it, and I said, well, is it I thought it was progressive values that we had in common is what I came down with. And then it was a regional group, so I called it Monadnock Progressives to start. And shortly after that, there was a Rights and Democracy meeting right after the election. And at that meeting, it was like a debrief meeting. I had been involved in the electoral process or movement politics process where.
And what exactly is movement politics? Because maybe some of our viewers,
Yeah.
you're using a term
that they might not understand.
Yeah, might not understand.
Movement politics really refers to the electoral part of our work where we identify candidates that really want to champion the issues that we support.
Okay.
So, for instance, in that election, we had a question. We made a questionnaire. We sent it out to candidates all over the state, and endorsed some of those candidates. I believe we endorsed somewhere around 20 candidates, and about half of them won their seats, which was really powerful.
Okay, and when you say we, now you're talking about rights and democracy,
yes.
because we haven't gotten to MPA
We haven't even
yet.
gotten to MPA
Yeah, we
yet.
haven't gotten to MPA yet.
Yes.
We're back pre-MPA
Yes.
now. Okay.
Well, and MPA, I think, was just starting to meet after the election. Amy Hathaway started having meetings at her house the Tuesday after the election. She didn't know what to do, but she knew she had to do something, and she said, I'm going to clean my house and invite my neighbors over, and we're going to talk about what we can do.
Okay.
But anyway, so back to that meeting, they asked everybody to contribute any ideas they had for moving forward, because we were in a situation where we were shocked at the results of the election, first of all. And we had some wins and some losses to, celebrate and grieve. But a lot of it was, well, what do we do? What do we do now? And I jokingly say, well, I raised my hand and opened my big mouth and said, I think that we should organize regionally. And within a week, Anthony, my organizer at the time, called me up and said, hey, so you said you thought we should organize regionally, and how about you take on your region? And, I hemmed and hawed a few minutes because I didn't think I had time to put into that because I had other jobs that I needed to be doing to make a living, and but eventually came around to the fact that I did feel passionately about it and that I wanted to make a difference. And so we hosted a meeting in Keene at the Ice Arena mid-December of that year.
In that really big room?
They have a smaller community room that holds maybe 50 people or so.
Okay.
And we didn't really know what we would get. There had been a storm. I think we actually postponed for a day because of a snowstorm or ice storm of some sort, and we were like, it's 2 weeks before Christmas. Are people going to actually come out? And sure enough, over 30 people, it was like 36 people showed up at that meeting, and some of those people are still involved with Rights and Democracy, but that's where we met Amy Hathaway.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Okay. So Amy had started to have meetings at her house.
Yep.
Really wanting to make something happen in Keene.
Right.
Having, a lot of energy.
Yep.
And having some of her friends.
Yep.
And just really wanting to, be inspired, right?
Yeah.
And then came to your Rights and Democracy meeting.
Right.
Okay.
And there we broke out into groups and we started defining what types of things we wanted to work on, community-wise, state-wise, and even somewhat federally, although our focus is more state and real local, regional kind of stuff.
So real grassroots.
Yeah.
Really trying to keep it in the community-based,
right.
What the community wants.
Right.
Okay.
What's best for us here.
Okay, great.
Because, on some level, I think that people understand that we don't have a whole lot of power to affect things federally. I think we're building that power as we build this movement together with lots of different groups all over the place, all over the state, all over New England, all over the country. I think it's really becoming a solid movement, which is super exciting. So anyway, back to Amy said to me that day, she said, well, come Tuesday night to my house and meet folks and see what we're doing. And it all sort of blossomed from there. I was at another event and met Devora Kelly, who's also on the leadership team. And I heard her speak at a rally, and she said she was from Keene. So I went up and talked to her afterwards and said, hey, you should come to this group. And sure enough, she showed up to the next one. And before I knew it, we had changed the name to Monadnock Progressive Alliance. We added the Alliance to the end. And we had come up with a mission statement. And we had decided that we needed to really find a public space to meet, because Amy's house, as great as it was, we were going to grow out of it. There wasn't really enough places for us to go and work on different things. So every meeting we would decide to have different groups, focus groups, and we'd all go off to different rooms of our house, from the kitchen to the living room to a bedroom upstairs. And we realized, we could probably use some tables and,
And it probably got to, I mean, I don't know about you. I don't know about some of the listeners here, but having people, not just someone, but people in every corner of my house every week sounds like a lot.
Right. It was a lot.
Yeah, a lot to ask of someone, but that really kind of shows, her commitment to this.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely. And a lot of those people are still involved on some level in a working group, or just come to some meetings when they can, or come to some of the rallies or other events that we host.
Okay, and so MPA did get a meeting space.
We did, actually.
So where is that?
That is at 49 Community Way. That's where we have met for pretty long time. There's been a few meetings where we had to find other places because it wasn't available. But I think we have a system down now where we're meeting, second Tuesdays and fourth Wednesdays in that space. So 49 Community Way, if you're not familiar with that, that's sort of next to the co-op, the Monadnock Food Co-op. And it's part of a senior housing building that Southwest Community Services owns and runs. And they have this great conference room that we can use for free, which is really great, because we fundraise for what we need, and we don't necessarily have a lot of extra to be spending for every meeting on a space. So
and that brings up another topic, because we have meetings twice a month.
Right.
But where you get information, I didn't realize this, but you just told me about how MPA got its web page.
Yeah.
And that's a really nice story, and I think the listeners want to hear about this, because the bottom line is, this is a really grassroots organization where the everyone in the group is really dedicated, and they're dedicated not only with their time and their heart, but actually with their wallets too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, this isn't running on super PAC money or anything like that. In one of those early meetings, we just put out a bowl and started asking for money. People asked to give us money too, and at first we were sort of like, well, we don't have we're not set up for that. So the first meeting that we had, 70 people showed up to that, and we didn't have enough chairs, and we thought, oh my word, what have we done? So it was exciting and fabulous all at once, and we managed to make do with the space we had, and people sat on the floor, and we broke into working groups again and talked about different roles that we might take on in the group. And that was sort of how the working groups started. Was some of those first meetings, we broke off into issue topics for from human rights to healthcare, education, things like that.
And they still exist. So even though we have meetings twice a month, The working groups themselves have their own separate meetings because they have their different agendas.
Right.
And their agendas are very, very issue-based around their titles. So
Right.
maybe you can share with the viewers at home the names of the different working groups.
Sure, and you can also find these on the website. And,
Yeah.
and just to go back to that, we fundraised at a meeting for the money for that website. And it was phenomenal. In one night, we had enough money to do that. And Devorah Kelly, who was on the show last time, has just done a fabulous job with that. She updates it all the time. And you can find information on these working groups there and where they meet or who the contact is for that group. So the groups now, I believe, stand with these 7 is healthcare, education, the clean energy team, racial justice, gun sense, beyond plastics, and voting rights. I think that's the 7 of them. So if you want more information about those, please go to the website. You can also find out about all the upcoming meetings for the month and any other events that we are sort of co-sponsoring or that we're going to be at, having a booth and talking to people about the work that we do.
Yeah, because we do go out and table. That's kind of the right. That's kind of the grassroots name for going out and having a table at an event, talking to people about what we do, maybe doing some kind of surveys. You've been doing so many surveys with Rights and Democracy to try to find out what the people in New Hampshire feel about different issues. Right, that are facing people.
Right. Yeah. So, well, let's sort of talk about that and my transition. So, I recently started working in February for Rights and Democracy as a grassroots organizer.
And full time, right?
And full time,
Yeah. So you had to step down from some of the duties you were doing at MPA, and we miss you.
And I miss being there because I love this group. I love these people, and but I am glad that I get to be here, and I'm really excited that you are on the leadership team now.
Well, thank you.
I think it's really exciting. I think we've done really well getting some new people involved, and hope that more people will come to a meeting and check it out and step up and get involved as well. There's room for everyone in the movement. So anyway, in February, or at the beginning of the year, I had decided that I needed to do something different for work, and I wasn't quite sure what that was, but I did know at this point that I was really getting more and more involved with especially New Hampshire politics, and really saw that I had a natural tendency to want to be an organizer. And
you're very good at it.
Well, thanks. Thanks. I'm a people person, and I finally recognized that in myself, is that I love connecting with people from all different backgrounds and talking to them about what they're into. So yeah, my first task really with Rights and Democracy is I've been coordinating this program called the New Hampshire Community Survey. And we're actually just winding down on that. It's been 6 months of collecting surveys. I've collected over 1,000 surveys from all over the state. And we're going to be working on doing all the data entry and analyzing all of that data and doing a report that we're trying to get out by September.
Wow, September. So this could be something that our viewers could look at on the Rights and Democracy website, and really learn what other people in New Hampshire care about, what they think is important as far as issues. Because this survey is asking, what's important to you? What's the most important issue?
Right.
What are issues that you think that New Hampshire is really struggling with? So it's to me, I thought it was a really important survey, and it's really good information for Granite Staters to see where other Granite Staters are at.
Right.
Yeah.
And I should add, you can also still go onto the RAD website and take the survey digitally. That's at RAD, RADNH, MPAToday.org/survey. Please add your opinion to the survey. It's until the end of July. We'll have that up and running, and after that, it will all be about analyzing what we found.
Okay.
So, and part of that, I actually feel like I know a lot about that already because I talked to a lot of those people, those 1,000 people, all over the state. And
so is there anything that kind of really, stood out? If I know that this is just anecdotally, and maybe when someone goes to the website, it might not fully pan out. Right? We might have to come back and I'll say, uh-oh, Heather, you come on a later show.
Right.
We weren't quite right, when you do the numbers. But was there something as you're traveling around, because you went around this state?
All the way up to North Country, all the way to the coast,
big deal.
to Lakes region, Upper Valley. I've been all over over the state.
Yeah, I mean,
which is really exciting.
You are kind of a voice for the people of New Hampshire, and here you are on our show, and now the public gets to hear.
That's interesting that you say voice, because we've called this a listening campaign, and so I've done a lot of listening and hearing what people have to say, but now I do get to go out and talk about what I found out, and some of it was very expected. Like I know that we're struggling with the opioid crisis. That came up a lot. People are struggling to get by, and I think I knew that, but I did not realize the level that people were struggling. And I know I've had my own struggles, but I don't think that really compares on some level to the struggles that I see out there all over the state. So that was kind of eye-opening to me, and it was hard not to internalize some of that, because it's hard to hear heartbreaking stories over and over again about what people are struggling with, whether it's...
Yeah, I can imagine it must... You go from region to region and you see these people, good people just really struggling day in and day out.
Just to get
exist.
by. Right, just to get by. So one of the surprising or maybe more regional things that wasn't really addressed on the survey was property taxes. That was something that came up a lot, over and over again. I heard from people that their property taxes are so high, it is really part of the reason that's making it difficult for them to get by.
And yet it's such a struggle, because that's the only way that New Hampshire takes in,
That's our revenue source.
It's our revenue source. It's a real disconnect, and it's a real struggle we have in this state.
Yeah.
We could spend a whole show on that one.
We could, and we should probably get some other experts in on that.
Yes.
Because I don't know that I'm the expert on that, but I know we know some people that would be happy to come talk more about that.
And that is another show, so we've got to leave that one aside there.
Yeah. So I also think that there's a real need. People see the need to really address the opioid crisis in the state. And what I'm hearing from people is that the punitive way that we're dealing with this on a national or federal level is not really what we need to help people who are struggling with those addictions.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating. A lot of people that I know that work in the recovery field that I've talked to during this survey and gotten to know better really tell a tale of needing support. They don't need the threat of going to jail or being killed by the death penalty. They really need Medicaid expansion.
Need help.
They need health care that will help pay for their recovery services. And we need more beds. We need more programs.
And this is so vital for New Hampshire. And why? Because we're one of the top states,
We
right?
are. We
are.
are.
So in this survey, it just makes sense that this comes up because we're number 3.
Is that where we're at?
That is right as of now. We were tied with Ohio, but now we're number 3.
Wow.
So as far
And we seem to get brought up as, Trump has called us the drug-infested den. And,
yes. So we
even
are.
Sununu has made comments about, where I don't even remember what they were
we're getting
right now.
a little bit. We can see that this is a passion for you, Heather.
Absolutely.
And it is a passion for me, as you well know.
Yes.
I'm on a board of a nonprofit
Right.
that works for it. So
Right.
maybe we're getting a
There's another
little
show.
bit off topic. So
Yes.
sorry that we found each other's passion and we went a little bit off target.
So, let's just talk a little bit about some of the events and stuff that we've done in the last year, and I'm not sure what the next MPA meeting is about, but I know the last meeting there was somebody there from Reality Check talking about the opioid crisis, right? And then the meeting before that was.
I think we're running out of time.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Wow, that went so fast.
I know. We get together and we just start talking.
Well, there's a lot to talk about. I really appreciate you having me on the show this week.
Thank you for coming.
And hope I can come back sometime. And I'm excited to have some of my colleagues come and talk with you as well.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, Heather, we're running out of time.
Oh, darn.
But I wanted to thank you for coming on the show today, and I wanted to thank everybody for joining us, and I hope you join us next week on MPA Today.
Stand up, stand out, shout it out. Yes, I will. Yes, we can. Yes, I will.